to address this question raised by Renu about the what is the true identity that we are talking about. Sometimes we say Atma is there, sometimes we say consciousness is everything. So we are Brahm. So I think there is a genuine concern, and I think we will try to answer that question. First of all, remember this: the basic thing that what you see around doesn't change. What we see, people, the world, and we know that nature is there and God is there because everyone believes there's some creator who created the whole thing. So you've got a, the Jagat, which is phenomenal word, the individual being, Jivatma and Paramatma. These are three entities are there. And so the first two the philosophies or the schools of thought is Nyaya and Vaisheshika, and also the Sankhya. These three, and including Buddhism even, they all believe they exist in some form or another. There's an evolution from the how to explain the interrelationship of human being to God and to universe. How do we relate them? And what is the purpose of life? How do we get out of this misery? Or is there some immortality? Or is there death? After death, what happens? So all these questions come up, and each theory or each philosophy has to answer them in some form or another. So the first two, and it's evolution. We started out with the Nyaya, which is a very basic thing, which says that including Atma and all the elements, they're all substances. You have to analyze them. Atma has a special consciousness which goes into the body. That's they started. They've got 16 different items that have to be looked at, that to be understood in order to understand the philosophy. And they believed God is the creator who brought all the pieces together and created the world. Then Vaisheshika, which started afterwards, they narrowed down the 16 items to 7, and they also explained the same thing: consciousness, the soul is there and it is conscious, and then God is sitting there. So they said, how do we see God? Then they said, you can, when you die, then you go and see God, because there's everyone goes there. So they got rid of their issues, problems of explaining. So then the next one came Sankhya. Sankhya narrowed down everything, all these different items on the discussion, and they brought it down to two labels: one nature and one consciousness, which is called Purusha. So they said they are eternal. Both are eternal and all pervading. They pervade everything. So that was the first step. Little more that can explain a lot of things. And they came out with a very good description of how the nature came about. And Vedanta accept that creative the description of the creation, and but they differ. We'll talk about how they differ from there. But they accepted that each body has a consciousness, Purusha. So from Sankhya point of view, each of us has a consciousness, Purusha inside, and this body is a cover. And they said that there are three labels: is the gross body, subtle body, and causal body. And behind the three labels is the consciousness sitting there. So if you want to realize God or yourself, then you have got to penetrate or go into internally. Our nature is to go out. That's the way, because we are product of nature. So nature wants to go out. So our tendency is to look out and bring everything in front of my eyes, that I want to see all the objects so I can look at them and understand them. but the consciousness is that consciousness is you. So you can't see yourself. So you have to go inside in meditation, and and knowledge is required in order to decide what do I see in meditation. How do I get to the self? So there are three labels in the Samkhya said is outer layer, which is this body, and then you have to understand what the body is. Brain over here, all the different senses are the here, five senses, and then brain is there. Now, then they said that then there's subtle body. Subtle body includes mind, intellect, and ego, ahankar. So they came out with the 23 different parts of nature. Nature evolved, and we all got created by evolution of the nature. So there are 23 different labels of evolution, and nature is called prakriti in Sanskrit. So prakriti was the first thing that was there before creation occurred, and consciousness was there. And when they came together, now nature is unconscious, inert. Consciousness and but nature is very active. So see the dilemma. This is what called the paradox, that the nature is inert but active. Consciousness is conscious but inactive. It doesn't do anything. So the combination of the two. Now this is a contradiction. How can they be unconscious and inactive, and in nature is active but unconscious? So these are paradox, and we will explain them how to get over them. But so the question is, nature wanted to be understood and appreciated. So that's the nature. That's the goal of nature, to be manifested and somebody to look at. Consciousness wants to know who am I. So that's a question for the consciousness to concern about. Who am I, and how do I get to know? So when the nature and they came together, the first thing that occurred was the intellect, buddhi. And buddhi, as soon as the buddhi came, buddhi became conscious, because of it's just like a sun. When everything is at night, you can't see anything. When sun comes out in the morning, then everything is visible. But sun doesn't. You don't need a torch or light to see the sun. Sun is self-illuminous. So consciousness is self-illuminous and all-pervading. And Prakriti is also all-pervading. So they are together, and they are eternal, and they are two separate things. It's interesting that consciousness sitting inside our body is different from the body, is almost penetrating every part of the body, brings the consciousness. That Purusha, or they're sitting there making everything conscious. Without Purusha, body is inert. So when they came in contact, then Purusha, looking at the Buddhi is acting that I'm the conscious, I'm seeing everything. Purusha is basically seeing the reflection, and Buddhi thinks that I'm the one looking at everything. I'm the one who's deciding what is there. It doesn't realize that because of the consciousness, that Buddhi became conscious. Otherwise, it couldn't see anything. So it started looking around. Ego came, ahankar. This is me. So Buddhi started feeling that the individual feeling, this is me now. And as soon as the ahankar came, then the mind came, because it has to manifest. So mind came, and mind is the one that does the processing of all the data. So these are all sattvic manifestation. All these are all sattvic. Prakriti has three gunas: sattvic, rajas, and tamas, and these are all sattvic. Sattvic means very pure. So the intellect, which is buddhi, ahankar, and man. which is mind. These three are pure sattvic. With the energy of this rajas, they need an energy, and rajas provide the energy, and tamas provides the negative aspect. So when you get a duality in life, happiness, sadness, because if once sattvic provides you the happiness, tamas provides you the depression. So in word, everything has opposites because of the two complete different natures, sattvic and tamas. And rajas is the one which provides the energy to these two different things. And the beauty is, so long as these three, sattvic and rajas and tamas, they are in balance, then prakriti doesn't do anything. Nothing happens. As soon as there is a disturbance, rajas becomes excited, and then sattvic quality gets promoted, and so then everything starting evolving, and then you see the evolution. So, but what they call it is when they are in three balance, then this is a call unmanifest. Nature is not manifested when they are in balance. When they get disturbed, then manifestation starts comes, and that becomes vikriti. So prakriti is unmanifested. You can't see it is not visible, or it's unmanifested. But once it gets disturbed for whatever reasons, then it becomes vikriti, and that's how the evolution takes place. So the mind came, and the senses came out of this. The five sense organs: seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting, all these five. And then came also the organs of action: hands. Now, when we say hands and legs and tongue and all the five organ of actions, but you see the five organ of actions and senses, they are gross. But we are talking about the very subtle. You can't see them. So they're sattvic. And out of the tamas came the elements, that sky, akash, prithvi, air, water, and Agni. So the five came from there. They are all subtle. Then they became gross by panchikarana, intermixing them, and in the gross form of the element, five elements, they create the whole physical world. So this is the way the Sankhya philosophy came out. And they said that once the creation came, then the Purusha, individual Purusha, is sitting inside to be realized. The objective of the Purusha is to. Now the question is, you might ask, why the whole creation occurred? What was the idea? So as I said, the nature wanted to be understood and appreciated, and Purusha, that consciousness wanted to see who it is, who it is that I am. So when they got together, now the Purusha is trying to find out liberation. So Prakriti is providing the basis how to come out of the dilemma that I'm this body. So the consciousness has to realize that it's not a part of this body. It's different. That is realization or liberation. So the consciousness, once you realize then I'm different from the body, the purpose of this consciousness is served. And Prakriti realizes that you have realized, so it disappears from you. So the realized people, the entire world will disappear, not in the sense of that it doesn't exist, but they are a different label. They see the glory of the God into the world. They think this is a reflection. This is a outer layer of the God. Just like a body is outer layer of my consciousness, this everything is outer layer of the God. So that is what Sankhya philosophy said. Now Vedanta went one more step, and they said they differed from the Sankhya philosophy, saying that there is only one consciousness, and when that consciousness is sitting inside you, which is Atman, and the whole universe is pervaded by it. And outside of your body is Paramatma, which is Brahman, Brahm. So Brahman and Atman, these are two. Individual label is Atman, and in universal sense is Brahm or Brahman. So they said they differed that there are 5 different branches of Vedanta: Dvait, dualism, monoism, non-dual, and then different combination of the different things. Shankaracharya was the Advait, monoism, that only consciousness is the one which pervades everything, which is inside our body, outside our body. And they went to one more step, and they said this body is illusion. This, because just like they give example, that ocean, for example, when you see wave might think that I'm the wave, different from the ocean water. Wave is nothing but water. It goes down into water, and there's no wave. So we are like a wave. We are coming out of the consciousness, and we think we are this one, and we go back after the body is gone. We are gone back. So then it's just like a wave. So they say that consciousness is the only one. These are only different name and form. Just like you take a gold, you make a necklace out of it, you make a ring out of it, you make a and earring out of it. They are all gold. But once they take form, you start giving them name. So we got this name as a human body. Somebody has an animal or plants. They're different names and forms. But once they go down, then they merge into the ocean, just like water, wave water goes into the ocean. So the reality, they say, is Brahm, which is consciousness, universal consciousness. But as soon as they take form, they get names. In the world, you can't have anything without name and form. Otherwise, it won't exist. So now the challenge is how to realize the true self. And that is the goal of the life. Because once you understand who you are, your purpose is served. And then that will answer the question of your death. Because as a death, now the question people say, what happens after death? None of the other system can answer that question. So Vedanta is the only one that can answer, to the modern scientists and the people in the world. How can you explain the death? So the death occurs because, first of all, you can say that if consciousness is everything, it must be in the chair, it must be in the wall, it must be in the grass. Yes, consciousness in everything. Then you will say that why can't they, talk like us? Or the chair doesn't have a consciousness, for example. Now the answer is the consciousness needs a software, which is subtle body, man, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. These are subtle bodies, which are the form of mind in 4 different aspects. So unless that subtle body exists, you will not be able. The consciousness cannot manifest. So you need a subtle body to explain to make it conscious. So human body has a subtle body. Animal has subtle body, but they have a different levels of intelligence. Human mind is the most intelligent. The intellect part is the most, which can imagine, it can create. So all this creativity is in the mind. And so as soon as anything that you see which has a subtle body, you will see the manifestation of the consciousness. Anything that doesn't have a subtle body, it cannot manifest, but that doesn't mean it's not there. It is there. It's just like they say that the fire is in the wood. It doesn't manifest, but when you burn, then it comes out and manifests itself. So same thing, consciousness is there in everything, but you will not see in the chair because it's not. It doesn't have subtle body. So at death, the consciousness goes away because subtle body moved on. So subtle body and consciousness and prana, they go together and start looking around. wherever they can, sort of fulfill their all desires that have they accumulated over the lifetime, and they're continuing on. So if you keep on thinking, keep on making different plans and different ideas, mind remains active. And so long as your mind remains active, your sanskars, they are building your sanskars, which call in samaskars. And we are bringing the samaskar from our previous life, which are manifesting in our present life. We are building up the new samaskars for the next life, and this will continue. Only it will stop only when you stop making the mind think. So to realize God, there are different ways to realize consciousness. That Sankhya and yoga, they are together. Sankhya is a theory, and yoga is a practical. So yoga doesn't have its own philosophy of how the universe came about, and how the things explaining all the different things. It only talks about how to realize your true self. So that is the way, and they say the mind is so active, you have to calm the mind down. So the yoga emphasizes to control the mind. Vedanta says that you are consciousness. You don't need anything. All you have to remove the ignorance that you are not consciousness. So he says use the knowledge. So knowledge is in Upanishad, and they were brought down by Ved Vyas into three different scriptures. Is a Brahma Sutra, which is all the condensed form of the Upanishad. Upanishad is the Vedanta. So Upanishad is the one source. Brahma Sutra, where he condensed all the information into Brahma Sutra, and third is Gita. All they are attributed to Vyas. And then all these things, they emphasize that you are the true consciousness, and because of ignorance, you are seeing this body and you think that this is you. So in Vedanta, they don't call ignorance, they call Maya. So Maya is the one which is manifesting the word, and ignorance is for individual. So at individual level, Atma level is avidya, which is ignorance. At the universal level, is Maya, which is also ignorance. So then they said, how do you explain God? This is very simple. Consciousness with Maya takes the form and becomes God. And consciousness with this body becomes human body. So this is Jivatma and that is Paramatma. So Vedanta explains everything very clearly using all this knowledge of the all three scriptures. So that's the way it is. So now what we are trying to do when we talk to you people, we try to use all the knowledge which is there in Sankhya, Vedanta, and different aspects of the Vedanta, and we try to answer different things, different from using different sources to explain that one. But the consciousness is one universal consciousness, which is Brahm. When it takes the form, when you in the body, we call Atma, and that is Paramatma. Param means beyond. So this beyond the human body is Paramatma, and which is consciousness. So God is everywhere. And now, whether you want to go through yoga to realize your true self, which is meditation, or you want to go through Vedanta, where they say Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasana. And so they are different approaches. But so confusion, I hope this should explain the different label times that we use, but the concept is still same. The human body, the whole universe, and the God. How to explain them doesn't make a difference whether how you explain it through Vedanta or through Sankhya Yoga. The fact remains that there are three entities, and we are one of the entities. And if once you realize your true self, you will understand everything. And that's what in Upanishad they say, once you understand your true self, you have the answer for everything. You don't need an answer. You will not have a question. You will have a question whenever you are at the physical level and you have not understood the consciousness. Once you understand the consciousness, you have gone to there, you've gone to the mountain top, then you can see everything from there. When you at a lower level, you're not able to see everything. So that's how the whole Hindu philosophy is. And this is very profound. I mean, this is a half an hour we have covered the profound, knowledge of Hinduism, which is so vast that script there are 101 Upanishads. 11 of them are very major one, which were interpreted by Shankaracharya and subsequent people, other people just that. And this is a vast knowledge, which is, I mean, you can't cover in half an hour. But I have tried to bring all these things in try to 30 minutes, and I hope this answers some of your questions.
It's very well explained, Mamaji. Thank you. It's
Okay.
amazing job. In half an hour, you explained the whole, so many philosophies and different things. So
So now I think so. We are following that philosophy to realize our true self, and the goal is to realize ourselves and go beyond the misery of life. Because you have seen this misery. I mean, in this is what they each of the philosophy believe. The world is full of misery, even though the happiness is there. But at the end of each happiness, it ends somewhere, and it ends up in disappointment. So some of the people have gone to other extreme that everything is miserable, which is not true. There are some good movements, some bad movements, but they say the good movement ends up in bad. Bad are already bad. So, and this will happen so long as you don't realize your true self. So long as you are at the body level, you will go through the cycle of happiness and sorrow. So our effort is to realize who we are. And so, with that, I think I will stop, and let's do the yoga, and then we'll do the meditation.